All right, welcome to the RAMS Agents Production Coaching Call. The goal of the call is to help you sell more homes by maximizing your repeat and referral closings by implementing the Referral Agent Mastery System into your practice. My name is Mike Cerrone, co-founder of RAMS Agents, and my co-host is Angela Newman, a master trainer of RAMS Agents. Hello, Angela. How are you today?
Good morning. I am doing awesome and happy to be here. Happy to see you guys.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Angela, well, let's go ahead and jump right in. Who has some good news in production, some good news about production they'd like to share?
Well, I've got some good news because I had a listing that went live at 1 a.m. on Saturday. I stayed up late. I wanted to hit it so that I would have the full day Saturday on days on market at day zero. And we had three showings on Saturday and three offers by Saturday night. And I was working them much the way we've talked about on this call. And anyway, then Sunday morning, my clients accepted one of the offers, and I had an open house on Sunday afternoon to accept backup offers. And I probably would have had a backup. I have a pseudo backup offer from the open house. So it's not a written backup offer, but I do have one of those three offers that came through. They accepted one. Another one has asked to remain as a backup offer. We didn't do it on paper, but on text, it is, at least they've definitely expressed they want to be a backup offer. And then, as I said, I verbally met with an agent at the open house who said he would like to be in second position backup offer. So anyway, that's great news. We've got it under contract and inspection is happening today. They've
Wow.
got a very short due diligence period. I consider it short, 5 days to get their inspections handled and everything off the table. So
Well, that's fantastic, Blake.
yeah.
I'd love to step into that a little bit. Now, where did this piece of business come from?
This piece of business was not a referral, but a internet lead from realty.com.
And that's from the connection with your brokerage, Epic.
Correct.
Epic
Correct.
gives
Epic.
you a free membership into this company, and this company generated a lead that came
Correct.
into you that was a seller lead that you followed up with, and we talked a little bit about it last week, and it turned into a an actual listing. So that's
That's
pretty
right.
awesome. And so this was a stranger. This is your first stranger listing we were talking about the other day, last time. Somebody you didn't know, and so that's pretty cool, right? Right there. So you didn't know them. You had to create that relationship. So you had to
Hmm.
prove your expertise. So good job. What I'd like to talk about or narrow in on is how did you pull off this multiple offer situation? You said you came in on a Saturday. You came in at 1 a.m. You stayed up late, and then you worked all day, and then with all the action. Was this a vacant property? Was it occupied? Give us
Vacant.
kind of it was vacant. Give us what was your strategy? Apparently you tried to get multiple offers. So what was your strategy? What was your pricing strategy? What was your marketing or promotion strategy?
Yeah. So the pricing strategy was just, I mean, the client actually, of course, set the price. We discussed several prices, or a range of prices, I should say, and they settled on one that was actually a little bit lower than what we had even talked about. So this was a client that is an investor. They've owned this property for 20 years, and I think it's important to note that they were an investor because they were not emotionally tied to this property, and they looked at it from a very business standpoint. So they're thinking um, that the price that we used, was one that would would do well, and it did, and I knew it would. And it's a this is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home that was priced so in a it's priced at $229,000, and it was less, or I should say, there's not a lot of good 3 bedroom, 2 bath homes, 2 full bath homes anywhere in the area that are less than $250,000. It's just not easy to find. And this one happened to be not only in a very good location, but also really in good condition. Built in 2005, it's 20 years old. So it had a lot of, I don't want to say updates, but it had a more contemporary feel than many homes that might fit that 3 bedroom, 2 bath um, slot that have
What
been
was the
remodeled.
condition of the property?
Good. Yeah, I would consider it good. Not pristine. And the roof and the AC are original. So they're both at 20 years old. There's some age on them. They've got a limited lifespan ahead, but all of it's operating. And
So
they
when you
did some
walked in, was
updates.
it appealing to the eye? Did it look good when people walked in?
It did. It was very appealing to the eye. The photographs really presented it well, which I took the photographs, so they presented it well, and it was it was well presented. I mean, they had it cleaned up well. They had it power washed. They did all the things to make it look good. Had some new mulch out in the flower bed, so it looked nice and clean from the road. It was freshly mown. Um, yeah, the power washed, and they even come behind the power washer and cleaned all the windows. They personally had done that, the property owner. So the windows really, just let the light pour in. There was no sign of any neglect. It was you could see it was a well cared for property, even
And
though it had
what,
been rented for 20 years. I say that with multiple tenants, but they had a property management company that did stay on top of it. So things had been updated and taken care of as they broke or had an issue.
you said you got multiple offers on that first day. Did you have set up any kind of strategy as far as, hey, bring your offers and present them by X time or date, and we will be reviewing by X date?
I did not, and that would have been probably would have been a good thing to do. We did not. We just opened it up for showings on Saturday, and and then Sunday was the open house scheduled. So we felt like we'd get whatever activity was out there looking for a property like that, we'd get it going. I didn't necessarily anticipate multiple offers. Um, so we didn't present it like that because I didn't think it was priced below market. It's not priced below market. It's priced right at where it really needs to be, or real close to
Did
it.
it sell at full price? Did you negotiate the buyers against one another to move up the price? What happened there?
Yeah, so the price it is under contract above asking price. So it's under contract higher than the asking price. Um, and that was from a uh, one of the showings. And I'm being cautious with my words just because we're still, in play. But one of the uh, offers that came in, the agent and I had spoken before he prepared the offer, and he asked me, what are we going to need to make this work? What's going to be the thing that makes the difference? And I just told him right off, and he had already told me several elements that were going to make it look pretty attractive. Several elements, and I said, I think you need to come in with an offer above the asking price, because that one of their things was they were going to come in at asking price. I said, if you really want to knock out competitors, your best bet is to come in real strong. All these other elements are great, but I would suggest you come in above asking price. And we kind of talked about that. So their offer was higher than asking price. So then I had more showings coming still behind him, and he knew that. Um, and so I contacted as soon as I had that offer, which was, and he prepared it very quickly. Um, Once I had that offer, I did contact the two showing agents that still had showings and let them know I have a very strong offer on the table. Just be aware of that. You guys take a look. If you're wanting to make an offer, you probably need to do it pretty quickly. So that was kind of my message. I mean, there was more to it than that, but that was roughly it.
Fantastic. Um, yeah, when marketing a property, there's all kinds of different strategies. And then when you
Yeah,
get into it, there's also different strategies. It sounded like you did a good job. I like how you used the offers that you had to negotiate other interested parties to make their best offer. And then you use that best offer to try to leverage more offers by going out to people that were coming in the show. Did you use, I'm assuming that the offers came in one, two, three, and their best offer was the third one?
no, no. Well, they, every offer has, its
Different
own
nuances.
elements, nuances. So I might have taken the last offer if it was me, but my clients took a different one.
Good.
So they did not take the last offer. Um, and there were just, yeah, there's multiple elements involved. And so they did not accept the last offer, even though it was probably the highest, well, it was the highest price. Close,
That's a great lesson, isn't it?
it really is.
It's not always the price that people
It's not
want.
always,
They're
yeah.
looking at the overall picture. I've had even recently some people ask me, well, I made an offer and it was higher than everybody else, but they didn't accept it. So, well, give me the details. It turns out they had contingencies and they didn't have their financing lined up. So there are reasons why a seller may not pick the highest price.
That's
And that's a
exactly right.
good story to remember when you're talking to future clients, both buyers and sellers,
Yeah,
especially
I
your
think
buyers.
that's
When you're working with your buyers, you don't have to be the highest, you have to be the strongest.
that's exactly right. And then another element to this that put a little pressure on everybody was everybody that went in there saw open house Sunday signs that they knew there was potentially more activity that was going to really happen on Sunday. And there was. It was an active open house. But I think that helped push everybody a little bit to get try to get this thing off the table because everybody was trying to get it closed or at least under contract before the open house. So
Let me ask you one final question here, Blake, and I appreciate you sharing this story with us and what had happened, your experience. Uh, it just recently happened. That's why I love talking about it. Just happened a
Mhm.
couple days ago. Looking back, what was the biggest thing that you learned from it? What would you do again? What would you change?
Great question. I might, if I had it to do again, I might have, whether it would have happened or not, I may have still prepared it and presented it as we're going to accept all offers until a certain time. And so that I might have had more opportunity to share with each of the agents a little bit more about the competitive offers. Not to reveal everything, of course, but reveal what my client would want revealed and what needed to be done, needed to be revealed. I don't know, that I would have done it totally differently, but that's probably the one thing I would have changed up. I would have liked to have gotten it on the market a little quicker, but there were several before the weekend. That was another thing. We were really under the gun. I mean, I was out of town at a conference on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I had to get the pictures because the photographer was not available. So I was out there Friday evening after dark getting photographs, which are not the best photographs to take of the interior. I already had the exteriors, but the interior, because they were working on it and everything when I'd been there, interior shots were Friday evening after dark pictures. So, I would have rather had those. I would have rather had the whole thing on the market on Friday so that more energy could have gone into Saturday. As it was, Saturday had to be everybody that woke up Saturday morning and checked their, checked for the properties and said, "Oh, I've got to go see this one." And that's what happened. These were people that were looking, actively looking and ready to move on a offer.
Gotta love the MLS.
Yeah,
Bomb our MLS, but that's what created this, right? All these active buyers sitting there.
that's
People
right.
forget that when they were making all these changes over the last couple of years, the massive advantage of the MLS. Okay, so I've sold a lot of properties using the strategy that you've used, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties with this exact strategy of you drop it in the market, create some frenzy and see what happens, and be prepared to be flexible and negotiate people against one another when you can. The coming soon strategy has been developed over the last decade or so. Really interesting concept. And I'll just highlight it real fast. First of all, there's a tease phase, and it sounds like you did not have the tease phase. So the
Correct.
first week before, you tease the market saying, hey, there's a property that's going to be coming to the market. There's a property going to be coming to the market. And you get all these people that are in the MLS, that are these buyers sitting on the sidelines. You kind of get them excited about the property. And that's how you kind of pull out all the people that are interested in that area and that price range and those type of homes to get them in the arena to be watching what's going on and get them to step forward and raise their hand if they've got interest, because they're going to pop in on that first day that it opens up. So that's a strategy to maybe try next time and to test out. I kind of think at this point, everybody should test that when they first come to the market, even though our markets are slowing down. Definitely works in the fast market.
May I ask you?
Yes, go ahead, Yevon.
Sorry. Yeah, is it like you guys have on your MLS, the status coming soon, or how it works?
Yes, yeah.
We
So
don't
every
have it.
MLS is different. Mine actually has this coming soon option. Does yours? Have you looked? Do you have a coming soon option? Okay, so you can't do it in the MLS. And so some of the agents, I talked to some of the number one Remax agent in the world at one point, and she had presented this idea, I think first, and she didn't have an MLS that offered it. And so she created her own website that she would promote these coming soon listings. In fact, I think it was called comingsoon.com or something like that. She's down in North Carolina. I'm trying to remember her name. I'm visual, so I'm picturing everybody's face. But anyway, she created this whole concept of she would promote it to all of her sphere and her people and through the and other agents, and did it through her own off MLS website. But double check. You might have it and you just don't realize it's there or recognize it. But it'd be called coming soon. In our area, it's called coming soon. Angela, do you have this called coming soon there?
We do. We have coming soon. Before they had it on the MLS, though, we were doing those as well. And we were able to promote it within our people, as well as just the sign would get a lot of attraction back then. But
Yeah, you can post it coming. That's exactly right. You have a sign up front. You can put coming soon on top. That usually lets at least the neighbors or people driving through know. Having it in the MLS is super powerful. See if you can do it there because of all
And
those waiting buyers.
do you guys put like the date when it's the first day for showings?
And syndication. Yeah, so what you do is, first of all, you outline the whole strategy. You want to map it out. Okay, so that's my highest recommendation is just write it down, draw it out, because you have to explain it to the seller. And you have to, first you have to have it clear in your head. You have to explain it to the seller, then you have to explain it to all the agents and the buyers, the participants in the market. So you want to be very clear on what you're doing. And the typical arrangement is, for instance, there are limitations in most markets if they do have coming soon. In my market, 7 days. You can't do coming soon more than 7 days. Blake, sounds like you got coming soon there as well.
Yeah, it's definitely an option. I think it might be 7 days as well. I don't think you get a real long window on that.
Angela, is yours 7 days for coming soon?
Ours is 14, and I
Okay.
have one that we talked about doing coming soon. But I've really been trying to strategize on the best time period because I don't want to hurt it. I don't think I would want to do a 14-day because I think that could actually hurt the listing. So I was trying to decide what would be the right amount of time because I know that the first week is going to get the most views pretty much ever. The first 2 to 3 days gets really the most views usually. So how do I strategize that and allow them to be able to set showings in advance and all that kind of stuff without losing anybody? But
Yeah, that's a tough one. And that's just going to be your testing. Whatever you do, it's going to be powerful, whether you do 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, even the 14 days, depending on how you do it. If you drip it in there, so yeah, 14 days might be a little too long. I've done the 7 days, it worked great for what I was doing. In fact, I had people before the 7 days were coming up. They're like, how can I get in there? I want to get in there now. I mean, they're real excited. If you've got a property that's positioned properly, like Blake was explaining, where he had something kind of unique in the market, and that's what I had. I had something that was kind of unique in the market that a lot of people were looking for. Uh, the one I just did, it was in the spring. We had 9 offers, right? In just a very quick time, within a couple of days, over a weekend, and we were able to bid them against one another. I just real fast, Marty Hampton, Marti Hampton, out in North Carolina, Hampton. That's who I was trying to think of, who has the coming soon strategy. And she has a website. If you don't have it in your market, you might want to check out her website. And by the way, I did an interview with her. If you want to hear what she has to say about that, it was back in 2016, 17, but it's on Mastermind Agent. And yeah, coming soon. Oh, she's got comingsoonhomes.com and comingverysoon.com. Those were her websites. Again, if you don't have it in your market, you might want to check that out. Talk to Marty and see what she's doing there. So let me just open up that. Let me try to map that out real quick again. So you do a coming soon for the first 7 days, whether it's in your MLS or not. If it's in your MLS, it's going to be much more powerful. But if not, you can do it outside the MLS with a sign writer. For instance, our MLS requires that if you put a sign in the yard and it is a coming soon, it has to have a coming soon sign writer to let the public know what's going on and create some clarity. That also, as Angela mentioned, creates a bunch of interest. You can do it on your website. You can do it out to your sphere. You can send out postcards. You can send out social media, coming soon, this idea, and try to get people ginned up about it. And then you can be very creative about that. Maybe you just show one little teaser picture that's even hard to see, or maybe you, depending on what the property is, or maybe you do the whole 9 yards in your pictures. You can play with this teasing. The key I want you to get in that is it's a tease. It's a tease. You're trying to get people interested, just trying to give them enough sprinkles that they're like, I want to know more about that. I've seen people where they'll do the MLS and there's like very limited data. I mean, like very limited data, like no remarks, just so minor. And that gets people interested to want to know more. You're opening the loop and people want to close it. But the whole idea is you're drumming up excitement. Okay. And that's the way you want to explain it to your seller, right? We're drumming up excitement. We're trying to get some interest and some an auction atmosphere. That's the other term you want to use, auction atmosphere. Because remember, you got to sell this to the seller. There's an idea. One caution, make sure they know that this is not guaranteed, especially as our markets are changing. Because I tried it a couple of years ago, even though it was a hot market, and it just fell flat, didn't work at all, right? But luckily, I had told the seller before that, I don't know if this is going to work. We're going to try it, okay? And if it works, here's what's going to happen, right? And if it doesn't work, we're just going to turn it into a traditional listing where we traditionally sell it. That's how I preface it with my people. All right, so the way it's mapped out, the first 7 days, you're doing the tease, and then you have to set a date for when it starts. Like Blake was just telling us, it was Saturday at 1 a.m., right? So you set a date and a time for when it starts. It's going to be the day of when showings open up, okay? And then you're going to set a date a couple days later of when you're going to have offers accepted, offers review accepted, and then the next 24 hours will be offer review, and then you'll let everybody know what's going on. So here's an example. The way I did mine, I teased for 7 days, and then it hit the market on a Friday morning, right? Friday at 1 a.m. or whatever. And that, by the way, could be set up on my MLS where it'll do it automatically. It'll start it on that day. You might have to go activate it, depending on how you're setting it up and how your MLS works. But anyway, it went active on Friday. I teased for a week. So Friday had a ton of showings on my property, 15, 20 showings, some crazy number. I'm trying to remember the total number of showings, maybe 30 over the weekend, but a whole bunch of them come in on the first day. My strategy was I was going out on Friday, and then I wasn't going to review any offers until Monday at noon. Okay, so all offers are accepted till Monday at noon, and then we're going to review until Tuesday at noon, and we'll give everybody an answer by Tuesday at noon. Now, Yemen, that's all outlined in the MLS. So I put that in the private remarks in the MLS. Okay, so you get the public remarks out to all the public, as it gets syndicated. Private remarks to all the agents says, hey, here's what we're doing. This is the situation. And I'll have to go try to find it for you at some point, but here is the way this is going to work, right? The keys here, we're not going to review any offers until Monday at noon. Make sure that your offer acceptance deadline is no later than is Tuesday at noon, right? Give us time. The seller and it all has to come from the seller. The seller has instructed me not to review any offers until Monday at noon, right? And by the way, you have to have this in writing in your listing agreement. And I should say I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if it's different in your state. So talk to your broker when you're setting these things up. But that's how I set it up. So everybody knew the game. Let me say that again. It's a game. It's a game. You're creating a game. You're creating the game board, and you're just letting all the people know who are going to participate. And it works amazingly well because they all know the game, and they're all trying to game the game, and they're all trying to play and position themselves within the game. But they all understand the game, so they all appreciated it. All the participants, I had a lot of participants, 9 offers and 30 people that saw it. They all appreciated what was going on. Nobody was confused. Everybody understood. I was creating a lot of conversation with all of them during this promotion. I was communicating with people what I wanted them to know, but I was communicating with them to let them know, hey, we got an offer. If you want it, like Blake did for his buyers earlier, hey, we got an offer. If you want to bring an offer, great. And people would say, well, what do I have to do? I said, well, you better make it good. Yeah. And some people would say, well, I don't know, if it's under contract, maybe I shouldn't do anything. I say, well, I highly recommend you make an offer. Okay, so you don't have to say the price. And if you do any of this, you have to talk to the seller and get their confirmation on what they want you to do. You present it. Here's what I'm thinking about doing. What would you like to do? So they're involved in the whole process. For me, that's very important for them to be involved in the whole process. I'll tell them, hey, I'm going to do this or that. The other thing is one last little idea and tidbit. If you get these multiple offers, I don't share the price when we're under the asking price. But once we go above the asking price, I start to throw out the price of what my highest bid was so far. Does that make sense? And again, I have my seller's agreement before I do it. But if I was going to ask $100,000 for a property and bids came in at 90, and a buyer walks up and says, hey, we're thinking about making an offer. What do I have to do? I said, well, you better make an offer. I think it's a good idea. Let's make an offer. But now if I already have a bid at 105, I'm going to say, if you make an offer, you're going to have to beat 105. I just want you to know. I'm not going to play around. See, I think it's like an auction. I think of it as an auction. If you go to an auction house, don't they shout out, here's what the price is, right? That's what creates the excitement. All these people are seeing, oh my gosh, somebody else wants it. Somebody else is paying more than full price. And that way, people that are really interested are going to make their best offer. They're not going to shy away and afterwards go, gosh, I would have paid more if I knew. My job is to get the best price and terms for my seller. What I ended up doing, by the way, through that process, I negotiated over asking price, and I ended up with two buyers that really, really wanted it, and they were in lockstep. They came in at the same price. Their terms were just different, and we went with the stronger one. But the second one went in the backup position, and we closed the whole thing in 10 days or something. It was really quick. Any other questions on it?
I was going to comment, Yevon, I just checked my MLS and there are 28 coming soon listings that are going to be hitting soon. And that represents just under 1% of our active listings.
Nice. Do you guys have like private listings field on your MLS? You don't. Okay, we have
No.
it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
maybe
private listings. Yeah, that's an interesting. When you say private listing, what does that mean?
we recently, like couple years ago, yeah, a couple years ago, yeah, they add the field like private listings, and you can, for example, right now I have like two private listings, and yeah, some of the agents using this kind of like filter, some of them don't, because it's kind of short version of the listing. Usually we have like 7 pages you have to fill up before you can submit the listing on MLS. And there it's kind of like two. So, and it's easier. And yeah, I mean, we're using this kind of like similar like you guys using, and we can share this information with the clients. When you submit the listing on MLS, you can pick two options like share with the client or just share with the agent. And in this case, like, yeah, agent can set up the filter, which, will send the private listings to the clients, or some of them just agent can see.
So is the private listing, is it a pocket listing? I mean, is it
Yes, correct.
so that's the old term. The old people called it a pocket
Right.
listing, like in the 50s and 60s, where they would have a listing and they wouldn't put it in the MLS. You're saying
Right.
you put it in the MLS, but you didn't make a disclosure. So does this listing show up in the MLS? Can anybody find it, or is it hidden
Yeah, of
and
course.
only you and only the people you direct to it can see it?
Every agent can see it.
Okay. So it's private, but it's not.
I mean, it's private for public.
Okay, so it's not going to get syndicated, right? Is that what it means?
Yeah,
It won't go out onto Zillow and
right.
wherever else, homes.com. So, yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I wanted to mention that one of the powers of the coming soon, the way I understand it, is that it gets syndicated out. Once you
Yeah.
list it as a coming soon, in my case, 7 days before it went active, it went out to everybody out there in the world saying, hey, there's a listing coming up soon. It's not here yet, but it's almost here. And so all the buyers that are out there looking on all these portals are getting excited and calling up their agent, or their agent's calling them, or both, or so it's creating a lot of frenzy in the market. And that's your goal. By the way, another great word, frenzy in the market. That's what you're telling the seller. We want to create a frenzy in the market for your property. Sellers love this idea. They love the strategy. It's something you could spend some time with at a listing presentation to make yourself look different than your competitors if they're not sharing it. And I bet a lot of agents are not. It sets you apart. You're saying, hey, I'm going to try to get the best deal for you right off the bat. I mean, the way you can preface it is, hey, would you like to take a week to sell this home, or do you want to take 7 months? Which one sounds better? Let's go for the week, right? Especially as our market slows down. That's going to become incredibly important. I had a lot of listings that took 7 months to sell. They're not fun. It's not fun, right? Blake, you had one that took a while to sell a while back. Was that fun? Maybe.
No, not fun. It was probably 120 days to get to closing anyway, maybe longer. Maybe that's how long it was to get to contract. I remember it being over
I think it
100
was to
days.
contract. I think you were 120 days. That sounds about right.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not fun, especially when you're coming off of a season, I would call it, even though it's over several years, but a season of very limited inventory and very fast moving inventory that now you're having to go back to your clients. Actually, it's interesting. I talked to another agent here in town a few months ago, and his very comment was, "Boy, I sure would like to not have as many listings, and I'd rather have more buyers," because he said it's so tough to keep going back to my listing clients and telling them I got nothing. So
Sure.
I think the coming soon strategy would help with that very much.
It can.
It
And
can,
remember, it's not always
you
going
never
to
know.
work. It's not a magic pill. You got to be prepared to go the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But if you can get it out of the gate, it's more fun. When are you going to get the highest and best price? Is it going to be your first day on the market or your 100th day on the market?
Yeah. It's not going to be the 100th day,
And
most
that's what you
likely.
explained to the seller. And see, that was why I thought your story was really awesome. Your seller was pretty wise. This sounds like to me this is an experienced investor. They've been doing this for a long time. They know that markets are changing, that they know they want to get this wrapped up and closed quickly. They don't want to mess around with a long process where the market could when markets switch and it starts to go down, it becomes rough on sellers trying to sell homes. So it sounds like you tried to come in maybe right at or just under the price to try to attract people, not only to attract them. Ready? There's two parts to this. Also, keep them in the game. Keep them in the game once they go under contract and make sure they get to the closing. That's why when I did my situation, when I had the multiple offers story from the coming soon, I didn't normally traditionally put somebody in backup position. I don't necessarily like that. There's pros and cons. Um, but I did it intentionally because I want to lock in that person in first position so they would move to a closing. And whenever it got bumpy, and it got bumpy during the transaction, I remind them I have a second offer exactly like yours ready to go if you back out, right? And if you recall in my story, they gave me a 41-point inspection notice, 41 things they want to do. My seller is like, what is this? I am not doing all that. And I said, don't worry, you're not going to have to, right? But I mean, it was ugly. It was like $100,000 in repair kind of thing. And this is only a $400,000 property. So, um, by the way, we ended up with that strategy saying we're not going to do anything with your inspection. I don't know if you remember. I said, I'm not going to
I
do any of
remember.
this, none of it. And the buyer went to, oh, wait a minute. What? Nothing? Yeah, that's right. Nothing. Silence. Remember, we got to use silence to get people to listen and think. And his mind started spinning and said, will you at least do the one thing? I said, what's that one thing? And then we focused all our attention on one thing and it closed up. I don't know if I would have had that much power if I didn't have the backup offer, right? So that's why I'm trying to say it's a game. It's a long strategy. You got to play all these little different parts. All right. Anyway, I hope that was helpful today. I know we spent almost the entire time on that. Does anybody have any questions about coming soon? Anything left?
I have another question.
Go for it.
Okay. Uh, and did you guys try kind of like to play on, because we're talking about MLS, kind of like if we every day will go to our listing and we'll do like some changes on it, is your listing will be kind of promoted more on kind of like Zillow, Redfin, or things like that, because you kind of change some things, and it's kind of like maybe algorithm will take you a little bit on the top of other listings. I don't know, because like yeah, if anyone tried this kind of like idea to do some changes each day.
I know a price change will trigger Zillow and Redfin and all that, but I don't know about just changing like photos
Description.
or words or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Maybe pictures, kind of like yeah, the order, something like that, no? Because like yeah, if you change the price, I mean it's not a good idea, Mike, right? Like to change price every day or something like that.
The open houses also promote it. So if you schedule an open house, it like on Zillow, it'll usually go out the next day or maybe immediately. I think it goes out immediately. to let people know that if there's an open house, price changes. But that's a really good question about any other changes. I know that Zillow the syndication refreshes every however often, but I don't know if there are any changes if that would push it up or not. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
If you find out, let us know. And if I see it, I'll let you know. But
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we got to start paying attention on that now and see if there is a tweak that we can make that'd be a great strategy if it works. Yeah.
You're gaming the system. In the old days, I'm sold 30 plus years now. In the old days, we would play the game of pull it off the market, out of the MLS, wait a couple days and put it back in, which they got rid of. You can't do that anymore. Just this idea, I'll just throw this out just because it hit my head when you were talking about it. I don't know if it'd work or not, but you were saying, yeah, I don't want to make a price change every day. Well, you don't have to make a big price change if the algorithm is bumping you up to the top every time you do a change. Why not just drop a dollar a day or a dollar a week just to get the algorithm to throw you back up into the mix? Just a thought, right? A dollar ain't much on the
Yeah.
price of a house, right? And it'll kind of look interesting, right? We used to play with that all the time, really weird numbers to try to get people's interest. Why did you list it at 785,281? What's going on, right? So you can play with odd numbers as well.
Mhm.
All right,
Okay.
good. All right, so let's do this. We're starting to run out of time, but because I went on such a huge tangent, thank you, Blake. We only got to one good news. Does anybody else have anything you want to share or ask before we move on? Is there any burning issue that you want to either share or ask about? All right. All right, then I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for being with us for the production call. That was a lot of fun. Let's go ahead now and switch over to the huddle. Let's go ahead and do our daily huddle. And remember, in the huddle, we're asking two questions. What was the number one thing you did yesterday or last business day to move your business forward? And what's the number one thing you're going to do today to move your business forward? Who'd like to start?
I can start first.
Go ahead, Yevon.
Yeah. So like I said like earlier, I started making the video on Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of YouTube. So like and people start reach out to me. So like last day, one of my past clients reached out to me. He thinking about sell his condo, which is good. And week before, another client, he worked with another agent. He decided just to make some changes and try me on the field. So like I'll start work with this client as well. And I working today to get a new listing and put it on the market tomorrow. So
That's fantastic, Yevon. Congratulations.
thank you.
So I'll go. I yesterday had a home inspection on a property that's scheduled to close this Thursday. And so I met with the inspector. The buyers are out of town, so I also shot some video for them, which I've discussed with them yesterday evening. And then I've sent all of the requests to be handled to the agent to handle that, the selling agent. Today, I am meeting with a seller, and we're planning on listing his home. We're just going to meet to kind of look through the property, and he wants to see what kind of suggestions I might have for things that need to be handled or fixed.
Excellent. Well, where did that seller come from?
That is a sphere of influence seller, direct, not a referral, but one of my friends.
Excellent. Excellent. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
All right, Angela.
Okay, well, yesterday I had been working on, so I have a property under contract that was during the inspection period. So working on coming to an agreement with the seller on that. We got that worked out, sent over, assigned, the buyer signed side of that. So just waiting for the seller to sign it and get it back. And then today, I have started some research on 3 or 4 different properties for my number one client. And so he's going to be trying to decide what direction he wants to go. I think we're going to be selling one, maybe two, and then we're going to be renting out all of the units that are coming up vacant. So that's today.
Cool. Cool. And you said your number one client, and that's a long-term investor that you work with.
Yes, he has referred multiple people to me over the years, who some of them have bought multiple properties, and yeah, I've helped him buy and sell several properties.
Excellent. Good luck with that, Angela. That's fantastic. I'm going to be sending out, doing a little research and sending out a postcard. So I told you that's kind of this weird thing I bumped into, and I'm starting to wonder if there's a strategy here. But anyway, I've noticed that there were a big dumpster outside of a home that I walked by, and so I'm like, I bet they're going to move, and so I sent them a little postcard, and I tried to call, but I couldn't get the number. Anyway, I think that that's maybe a strategy. And ever since then, I've actually seen some dumpsters popping up with people doing either remodeling to just remodel or maybe remodeling to sell. And so I just got a lead on another one, and I'll be tracking that down. And I had this crazy idea. If it works, maybe you make a deal with one of these. I'll just throw it out there in case anybody has a connection. You make a deal with these companies that put these dumpsters in front of a house, and you somehow get their client list, and then you just market to them, hey, are you thinking about selling your home? I bet there's a high percentage of those people who are. That could be a real big win for somebody. So if you know
So this
somebody who
really
does that,
weird idea just came into my head. What if you could say, hey, can I sponsor your trash, your dumpsters? And then you put like a big sticker on it with your information or something.
good job. That's a great idea. What a
And
great
you can
idea.
and say, hey, you can offer your clients $50 off their dumpster or whatever it is, or offer your clients $10, $20 if I can put my sticker on there and it can travel around or something.
What a great idea. Yeah, I mean, we could really play with that. Uh, you could offer the customer, you could subsidize the customer with a $50 off discount if they agree to do a CMA or something. I don't know. There's got to be something interesting in there that you could do some kind of co-op marketing. I like the sticker idea. I'm just trying to think, how can you even get it to the point where the company is promoting you because the customer is getting a discount and you're going to pay for the discount, but it's basically getting your foot in the door, like literally getting your foot in the door. Where you will give them a $50 off coupon when you walk in or something. I don't know. There's got to be something there. But what do you think about that, Angela? You've been doing this a long time. You think people that have dumpsters in front of their homes are more likely to move than people that don't?
I think a lot of remodelers use dumpsters, small projects. They might not use dumpsters like homeowners, but definitely rehabs and big projects. So I don't know. I'd have to think that through more. I will say that when we sold our house in Tulsa, that we had a big dumpster out front. I had 2 real estate agents come by and knock on my door, as well as other people asking if they could dumpster dive. But yeah, so they were, I let them know I was a real estate agent, but I think that if I didn't have a realtor, I probably would have considered one of them. They were both really nice and helpful. So
Cool. Well, maybe we got something there. All right, one final thought. It's July 1st. July 1st, it's expired day. So if you have any interest in expireds and working them, be sure to look at your MLS and see how many expireds popped up. All right, everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. Hope you have a fantastic and productive rest of your day.
See you guys.